Who doesn't have a sweet tooth? Anyone? Well, most of us, unless you're my husband Scott, but even he enjoys some sweets once in a while. There isn't much more reminiscent of my childhood than candy made of pure sugar with a hint of fruit. Aside from chocolate, of course. Think about it. Most childhood sweets are just that, sugar with a hint of fruit flavoring, and not real fruit either. But what if you could be a kid again, particularly this time of year, and not feel guilty for doing so? What if you could have that pure sugar with a hint of fruit? Reality is, we're actually going to make some candy that tastes just like those kid treats today, but with fruit and a hint of sugar that's just as sweet. Welcome to Summer Bakes the World. Summer here, baking traditional dishes from around the world, providing some history and lots of tips. Join me on this journey, whether in my kitchen or yours, and together we can discover the world. Today, while it may seem we're making something exclusively American that you can buy from the little market down the street, actually, we're exploring the world. Today is all about homemade candied fruit peel. Candied fruit is an ingredient used in all sorts of sweet bakes from around the world, particularly breads and cookies. In fact, spoiler alert, our candied fruit today is going to end up in our German Stollen and our Italian Panettone videos that you'll find on this channel soon. It's that time of the year for all things sweet all over the world. Forget the sugary sweet orange slices and Fruit Loops from the grocery store. That's right. Our candied fruit we're making tastes just like those artificially flavored fruit slices, and that sugary syrup left over is going to be liquid gold. I mean, liquid Fruit Loops. That's what it tastes like, at least. Yes, I'm referring to the cereal. Could we feel any more childlike at Christmas? Hey, if you don't want to bake, don't worry. Just eat these like candy and not feel like you have to exercise afterwards. An adult's dream. Or feed it to your kiddos and not feel so bad that they're eating sweets. Get this. Did you know that citrus peels or rinds and piths contain more nutrients than the fruits they surround? These often discarded protective coverings not only protect the fruit, but can protect us too. These peels and piths are immune-boosting, cancer-fighting, fiber-rich, vitamin C-packed armor. That's right, I did say armor, for our cells that scream, "Eat me!" for a nutritious snack. Zest them or make something special like candy and enjoy their flavor while reaping the benefits. What are we waiting for? Let's make some candy. Here's what you need. 4 oranges, 1 grapefruit, 2 lemons, 2 limes, sugar, and water. That's all you need. You can use a variety of citrus fruit with a peel. I chose these for flavor and color. I highly recommend buying organic fruit for this recipe since we are eating the peels. We don't want to consume the pesticides that are typically on non-organic fruit. So step 1, let's peel the fruit. We're going to slice the ends and peel them using 2 different methods because I want to compare them myself. As I peel the fruit, let's talk pith. So we're just going to simply cut off the ends here of our orange. The first method we're going to use to peel our orange is this veggie peeler that I like. And the reason I enjoy it so much is because you don't really get much of the pith when you are cutting the fruit. You want to cut it into 1/4-inch strips. The pith, as you can see, is attached to the fruit. And the pith is this white, spongy part of the fruit, and it separates the actual fruit from the colored exterior. It is bitter and typically not enjoyed. However, it is highly nutritious and can boost your immune system. The pith is where the fruit stores its nutrients, and it is the vehicle by which nutrients pass to get to the fruit, right? So why not eat it too? It provides so many health benefits. This is the first method of using the veggie peeler. And notice that with this one, we didn't really get any pith. So it's going to actually look differently at the end. So and then notice that there's still a lot of pith on the fruit. So the second method is the peeling off method. We're going to cut the ends off of this one too. And we're going to use a different orange because I want us to be able to look at the final result of the actual candy when it's finished, as well as what the pith looks like with on the fruit or on the peel. So we're going to cut the orange into vertical segments, just the outside of the orange, not all the way through. Depending on how big your fruit is, you might want to do narrower or wider cuts. So we've sectioned off our fruit here, and now we're simply just going to pull off the pith with the peel. Okay, just like you were peeling an orange, but we've actually cut ours in segments, so it makes it a little easier to peel off. Notice the difference between our 2 oranges. This is one we just has cut the exterior peel off. This is the one where we took the peel and the pith off with it. Now look at the difference in texture here and in size. Using the veggie peeler, we really didn't get much of the pith at all, so it's just the skin itself. Here we get quite a bit of pith. Now, to prepare our candy, you may not want all this pith. So what you can do is you can just take your knife, flatten out your strip, take your knife, and then just slice it on down to get some of that pith off. Okay? So you can pull off most of it because it will be bitter. We're going to boil the peels in a minute. The boiling will get rid of the bitterness of the pith, but we're going to help it just a little bit by getting rid of some of it. Okay, let's take a look. We've got the original peelings where we don't have the pith. This is the pith I just cut off of the peel off peels. Since I kind of want more of a narrower strip, I'm going to cut some of these that are a little bit thicker in half. So we're going to do this for all of the fruit. For research purposes though, I'm going to alternate using the veggie peeler with the thinner pieces of peel and the knife using thicker pieces of the peel where we just peel it off and then just slice off some of the pith. I am going to be using more of the knife and the peeling off because I want the nutritional value that the pith provides along with the peel, but you will see that they both produce different results once they're candied. Save the peeled fruit for something else. Juice them, squeeze them on a guacamole or a salad, add the juice to your veggie soup for a splash of freshness, or just eat them with the pith if you'd like. Until then, store them in a sealed container where they will be still juicy for a week. And that's what I'm gonna do is add my peeled fruit to containers and then seal them out. We're gonna finish cutting the fruit. So all of our fruit has been peeled. Take a look, this was the orange. I do have quite a bit of pith on that. The grapefruit has some on it as well. Now the orange that I actually use a vegetable peeler, of course, doesn't have much on it at all. But look at the beautiful lime here. It still has some pith on it. So basically once I scored the fruit, it just pulled the pieces right off. So this is all of our fruit peelings. It's gonna make our candied fruit. So our step 2 is to boil the peels. Okay, so first we're gonna take all of our peelings here and we're gonna put them in a large saucepan. Then we're gonna cover the peels with water. I've just put water in the saucepan, so they're floating, but there's enough water in here to technically cover them. So we're gonna place this large saucepan with peels covered in water on the stove. We're gonna let this boil. When it starts to boil, I'm gonna set the timer for 15 minutes. When the timer goes off, then I'm going to drain it, rinse it off, and boil them again. Let's get the first boil and I'll explain why we boil them in a minute. Our first boil is complete, so take a look at the fruit peels. They've actually colored the water a little bit. The purpose we are boiling the peels is to get rid of the bitterness of the pith. When you boil fruit and vegetables, it's called the blanching process. And blanching comes from the French word blanc or blanche, and it just means to turn something white. But when you blanch fruit and vegetables, basically all you're doing is you're just lightening the color, which is what's happened here. They're getting lighter as they're boiling and blanching, and actually look at that, pith is now an orange color. It's the same color as the actual skin. And the thinner pieces, of course, the ones that don't have the pith on them, don't really have to be boiled as much. But since we have quite a few peels with pith on them, then we need to boil these at least 2 times. You may have to do these 3 times in order to get rid of that bitterness, but we're only gonna do 2. We're gonna rinse them off. Guess what? We're gonna do the same thing again, and these aren't very hot, even they just came out of boiling water. We're gonna put them back in the pot. We're gonna cover them with water one more time, and we're gonna let them boil for another 15 minutes. Okay, here we go, another 15 minutes. Okay, we've just finished our second boil, and they're looking pretty good. The piths have pretty much turned the color of the peels. We're simply just going to do the same as we did last time. We're going to rinse them, and they definitely smell nice and fruity. Now that all of our fruit peels are blanched, rinsed, and drained, let's move on to step 3. Make the Fruit Loop syrup. Yes, I said Fruit Loop. To our same large saucepan, this is where we're gonna make our Fruit Loop syrup. I just put in 1 cup of fresh water and 2 cups of sugar. Yes, I said 2 cups of sugar. Remember, we're making candy here. And you'll know why I call this Fruit Loop syrup, because it definitely tastes like it once it's made. We're gonna let this boil for a couple of minutes until the sugar dissolves, and then we're gonna add our fruit peelings, and that's what's gonna give it the flavor. Take a look. The water and sugar have been boiling. boiling and the sugar is no longer visible. So now we can add the fruit peels. You may be wondering, why is my water brown? Well, you know what? I accidentally added the fruit peels with the water and sugar in the beginning, and I had to take the fruit peels out. So they already colored the water. But now we can add them like we're supposed to. Go ahead and lower the heat. We're gonna add our fruit peels in. So you can see I have some sugar there because I accidentally put the fruit peels in too early. Anyway, but we modified, we adjusted, we took them out and put the water back in and the sugar. We're gonna turn the heat down to a simmer, and we're going to let this simmer for 15 to 20 minutes. We're gonna stir it occasionally, and the syrup becomes syrupy. So the fruit peels are ready, and you can see that although they have lightened, they're still very much orange, green, and yellow. The last step is to dredge them in sugar. I did put a little bit of sugar in a bowl to do that with as we take the fruit peels out of the saucepan. But you know what? If you were to stop right here and put these on the drying rack to dry, these are really sweet. They're just like the orange slice candies that you can get in the store, but I think the sugar on the outside would add that granulated crunch to them that you're used to with that type of a candy. If you want a good sweet candy, stop right here and just go with that. If you want that little granulated crunch, add the sugar. I think this is a perfectly good candy as it is. To finish this last step, take a few pieces, put them in the sugar, roll them around in the sugar a little bit, shake off a little bit of the sugar. Look how granulated that sugar is. Such a pretty candy. We're gonna lay them out on a cooling rack and let them cool completely. So I'm gonna continue doing this for the rest of the fruit peelings and lay them out on the tray. Both of my trays have the peelings on them. I just use a cooling rack on top of a cookie tray, and I have 2 of those. These need to stay out on the counter for 1 to 2 days. They're gonna cool quickly, but it's drying. It's the drying time that takes 1 to 2 days. So I actually went rogue on myself. This tray right here, I did the sugar coating. This one I thought tasted so good as is. Why add the extra sugar when they're already sweet? I just pulled these out of the syrup and then just laid them out on the tray to dry. Remember we used the vegetable peeler? Well, I've got a couple of sugared ones that are really thin, and then I have some of the non-sugared ones that are really thin. Now here's the difference. When these things dry, if you use a vegetable peeler to cut these really thin, they're going to dry a little bit quicker, but they're also going to become leathery because they're really, really thin, which is okay. It just might be more like fruit leather, I guess, instead of an orange slice. If you're going to be putting them in, say, cookies or bread, you might want a thicker one so that you can get the bite to it. You can get that chewiness of the fruit. So now let's take a little bit of a taste. The sugar-coated ones, this looks like a little piece of orange. It's already cool, it's just wet. It's crunchy with the sugar on it, and it tastes like, I hate to compare it to an orange slice because that's what it tastes like, but it's pure, it's natural, it's clean minus the sugar. I'm gonna do another little orange too, without the sugar. It's chewy, it's very, very tasty. And the pith, can't taste it at all. There's no bitterness. It's definitely fruity and sweet. The tray without all the sugar on it definitely is sweet, but not near as sweet as the one with the sugar. But I like the one with the sugar because you do get that crunch. Do you remember the syrup we talked about? This is it. I put the syrup in a measuring cup. It is runny. This is the one you can put over a variety of things. So let's take a taste of this. Fruit Loops. But doesn't taste like it has chemicals in it or any kind of artificial flavoring. It is a clean, sweet, fruity liquid. So that's the last step, is to let them cool, dry, and then we store them. Once they've cooled and dried completely, store them in an airtight container. They will last at least a month or longer if stored in the fridge or freezer. If you want softer peels, pack them up before they dry completely and just store them in the fridge. So what do we do with the syrup? Well, you can add it to your favorite drinks for a nice citrus flavor. Try adding a couple of pours to sparkling water. Yum! Pour some over your pancakes or waffles. Ooh, Fruit Loop flavored pancakes, a child's dream. Maybe an adult too, right? So there you have it, a healthy sweet treat, good enough for the holidays, but not so indulgent that you feel guilty for eating it or drinking it. Here's a sneak preview of my next video, German Stollen using some of this candied fruit, followed by Italian Panettone using the rest of the candied fruit. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. I hope you feel like a kid again and feel good about a healthy indulgence. For this recipe and additional information on candied fruit, see the links in the description below. I can't wait to use these in 2 completely different bakes from around the world. Until next time when we stop over in Germany, Go bake the world.